Hey, welcome back to 23 Degrees Sideways. We are going to continue our little discussion here about current events. I recently was listening to some videos from Blonde in the Belly of the Beast. She's not really my, I don't want to say type, because that would be a little dirtier than she's ready for right now. I have a much different lifestyle than she does in that way. But she's not really my type, and I mean this specifically in the political and moral sense, and she's been talking a lot with people who are essentially Christian reformists, okay, new Christian reformists. Owen Benjamin, Computing Forever, other people. She's been doing interviews, and some of the interviews are very good because they make some very valid points about the need for a society to have social structures, and that those social structures, there are moral components that are there is good and evil. It's not that all morals are relative. And we'll talk about that a little bit more after this jet, because I pressed record. We're going to have a jet fly over. This is a little bit difficult, but I'm giving up on editing it out because it's not worth the time and it's not worth the reshoot. So we just have to deal with it for a moment. One of the things that I think is particularly telling about these conservative reform movements is that they're very focused on ideas of social good and evil, in very, very specifically in a moral sense. Like they're a little bit different from what you normally get from, say, the left and cultural relativism. And I find it all to be, I find it just terribly interesting because I'm not a Christian. But I tend to agree, even though I don't practice. And this is where I find that things get very interesting for me. Because so Buffalo Guy at the Capitol, all right? You have to actually watch the videos. Watch what he's in. Watch what's actually going on, okay? QAnon shaman. I don't know enough about QAnon to really get in on that aspect of it. But the shamanic idea there is actually pretty real. And you have to have these people who live on the edges or do things differently, because societies cannot be stagnant, homogeneous, unified wholes and have humans remain human. That's kind of an important thing that we're going to deal with much more as I talk about this, okay? But right now, the law and order aspects, the order specifically, we'll deal with the law again later. The order aspects specifically are a really big deal. A lot of people are finding, taking a path towards a conservative viewpoint. And in many cases, this involves Christianity or Orthodox Judaism, or one of the versions of Orthodox Judaism, or Mohammedan beliefs, or the Sikhs, or whatever. There's a lot of this where they're going specifically for stuff that has gender roles, that has a structure, that has a place for you to be. It's not a place for everyone and everyone in their place necessarily, but it is a way to have an identity, okay? I think that's the best way to put it, is that this is stuff where it's a way to have an identity, to have a purpose, to not have to face the world and see an abyss every morning. Not an abyss, because they can be cute, but an abyss. An abyss, right? If you stare into the abyss, well, that's kind of hard. You need to wake up in the morning and have something else going on, and most people do. This is a very specific cultural necessity. You can have no self-reflection and no spirituality and live as an animal. And you can deny the anti-spirituality that you see, the denigration, the people who scream about Sky Daddy and shit. They are not unspiritual. They just have a very specific negative view. They don't stare into the abyss, okay? They stare into a mirror, and it's a funhouse mirror. And that the thing is, it's not a window, it's a mirror. They don't see out. They only see in. The shamanic component, the people on the edges are the people who do deal with the abyss. And it's not the classic everyone has demons inside them abyss thing. It's the unstructured universe. People want structure. People want some semblance of safety. People want some security. Owen Benjamin, who I'm not a huge fan of, but he says some really cool stuff. To paraphrase him, because I do agree with some of what he says. Paraphrase, basically, when you get a chicken, they lose their hold on you. Okay, you have a structure. You have a self-referential and independent structure. Okay, you're no longer a slave to the ideology of the left, because that chicken, and it's more than one chicken, but that chicken is a freedom from their control. You have started to control your own food supply. And no, one chicken isn't going to do the job, but it's a symbol, and it's very real, because one chicken can become 5 chickens, can become 50 chickens, can become foraging in the urban wastelands. There's a lot you can do. I can go to most cities in the U.S. and forage for food. I've done it. I know how to do it. It's a skill set. There's no doubt about that, but it's also not an impossibility. It would probably be impossible for 8 billion people to do it, but that's not ever going to be a concern for me or you. So, society needs the structure. And when you get to the shamanic people, when you get to someone like Buffalo Man, he's happy that there are people who go to work and who build the roads and who keep the lights running. He's not against that. Okay, there's a rebellious aspect to that, and you get that around in the teenage years, late adolescence. You'll get a lot of people who are looking for a shamanic path, or looking for rebellion, and it's part of your developmental stage. It's part of your life. But one of the things about the shamanic path is that once you get there, once you actually get on it, and it's not for everyone. This is the whole thing, is you're talking about a couple percent of the population, and that's fine, because a larger percentage of the population has a pull to it as a experience, a part-time thing, as something you do. This is why shamans are holy, but they don't live with you, because they kind of break society in a way. But you need that. You need that retreat. You need that opening, in yourself, because it makes the necessities of being part of the social machine more tolerable and more positive, more advanceable, more capable of helping you achieve your own self-realization within a system. So, people seek order. When people are threatened, people seek order in a much more reactionary way. It's not as positive. And this is, again, we're going to go back to shamanism. because the shaman tends to have the positive, forward-looking outlook. And when you scare people, there's a tendency to have a reactionary seeking of order, and that's where a lot of conservatives are right now. But that's also where a lot of the progressives are. They're seeking an order and a safety and an isolation from the world, okay? Because these are people who actually see growing food as chaos, like biology and messiness and shit on the ground, and it's all very chaotic. There's no order to it. You have to trust in nature. You have to trust in systems. And that's really hard for a reductionist. Okay, someone who honestly is raised in the church of science of one single variable, simple, orderly, this to this to this to this, linear deductive logic. Man, a farm? You've got, I used to have a friend who's like, if you have soil chemistry, you know how to farm. That's it. One thing. And I'm like, no, really, no. It's very systems oriented, and it's sloppy, and it's messy, and it's chaotic. And that's pretty important. And there's a lot of people in the conservative space right now who are seeking a reactionary order, and it's not bad. This is the part I want you to understand, is it's not bad. It's pro-human order that they want. They want pride, self-achievement, self-responsibility, self-trust, self-acceptance in their community, and value of human life. This is one of the areas where it gets really big, is when we're dealing with families and babies and value of human life. A society that does not fundamentally hold to that value of human life is dead. Like, there's no good to it. So, more in a minute. We're halfway through a conversation, 1/3 of the way through a conversation, but just think this through, and I'm going to talk to you more about shamanism in a little bit.